I started Romantic Killer with very low expectations. Initially, I had thought that the title was enough to explain what the show was going to be about, and in fact, it was somewhat accurate. But something that had spoke to me in such depth were really the themes that were not about romance or love. You would think that the title Romantic Killer with romance and comedy genres tagged would solely be about a protagonist falling in love with some other character or characters, but to my surprise, there was actually a lot more to it than that. Romantic Killer is a 12-episode fall 2022 series aired on Netflix. The basic story is about a high school girl named Anzu Hoshino who essentially claims to only need 3 things in her life: video games, chocolate, and her beloved cat. But something very interesting about Anzu is that she absolutely lacks interest with the idea of romance and love. That's when a flying and bizarre wizard named Riri emerges from the television screen and designates a contract with Anzu without Anzu's consent. Riri decides to temporarily take away Anzu's 3 favorite things until she finds love with potential partners that Riri slowly introduces into Anzu's life. From there, the story continues and we start to learn more about the past about each characters, as well as their true personalities through the shared stories, which I found to be very beautiful in a way. So let's discuss about the characters and their stories. Apart from the aspect of romance, I felt that there was just so much to learn through the storytelling of each character, especially with the phenomenal character development throughout the series. The first thing that most obviously caught my attention was Anzu herself. Initially introduced as a character with zero to no interest in romance or love, I thought Anzu might be a character that would represent isolation and independency because of her different interest with the girls around her, but I was very wrong. Anzu is a character that would absolutely do anything for her friends in order to help them in times of both need and well-doing. As much as Anzu loved her video games, her chocolate, and her cat, she would always prioritize the happiness of her friends over her own satisfactory desires. I think this was such a wonderful theme to include because it really struck to me when Anzu spoke those words. It made me realize how much I needed to change for the better of my relationship with friends. It served as a reminder to be aware of the people around me because humans are living beings that need relationships in order to survive. Loneliness and isolation can provide someone temporary joy, but in the end, it's near impossible to be alone. Anzu and her care for her friends highlighted the strength of her relationships and really brought attention for both me and the audience to understand that relationships require effort and that care for each relationship is extremely necessary. Anzu's arc really serves its purpose with Tsukasa and Saki, which I'll explain in their own respective chapters. Tsukasa Kazuki is the first male partner introduced to Anzu. Kazuki is introduced to be a very good-looking and popular boy, but something that stands out is that Kazuki is not good with people and tends to be rude to those who seemingly annoyingly cling and follow him. In public places, it seemed almost like he had a difficult time managing himself because of all the attention that he had caught. But later in the story, we find out that Kazuki actually avoided people because of a trauma with a stalker. Kazuki was actually just like any other student who loved interacting with his friends and the people around him. But after meeting a creepy lady who would continuously stalk Kazuki, it caused him problems both to himself and his family because his father thought everything was fake and thought out by Kazuki. This trauma caused Kazuki to excommunicate himself with all the people, even his family, around him in order to protect himself from more trouble. Kazuki and his trauma incorporates an important lesson. That lesson is that not everything needs to be dealt alone. Sometimes in life, there are things that are difficult to share with others. As understandable as that may be, it is sometimes better to not let go, but to really be vulnerable with yourself because too much pressure can cause one to break to the depth of one's core. This can cause more problems such as mental issues and can result in deeper pain. Kazuki took the courage to share his problems with Anzu, which allowed Anzu to share her sympathy whilst also looking out for him in the future. Trauma is a very common thing in our society today. Romantic Killer does a great job incorporating a very sensitive topic to allow some viewers to resonate in order to provide them with the word of comfort. Whether it be effective or not, I still thought it was a wonderful thing to add to the story. Next up is Junta Hayami. Junta is introduced as a childhood friend of Anzu. When he was young, he was often bullied and isolated by others due to his physical look. But in the midst of all that, Anzu was different. Anzu always incorporated Junta with whatever she and her friends did, which gave Junta hope and vision. This relationship not only saved Junta from all the bad that could have happened, but instead provided him with a motive and strive to become a better and changed person. With all the hard work and dedication, he became a star baseball player with a bright future ahead of himself. Junta and his change shares a very prominent theme: strive. Striving for success may be difficult and things may not look bright in the beginning, but allowing yourself to be vulnerable and for yourself to change will eventually help you get to your dreams and goals. Learning to not give up is what's essential in life, and Junta and his story really highlights that importance. Hijiri Kogane is an extremely rich and stubborn high school boy who is very spoiled by the environment that he's been kept in his whole life. Claiming everyone else not like him to be normies, he obviously seems like a guy to avoid and hate. But Hijiri actually turned out to be very respectable. When Anzu claimed that she did not like him like all the other girls did for his money and his lifestyle, Hijiri began to taste the bare minimum of reality. With that, he decided to take a job at a convenience store Anzu works at in order to learn the hardships of life and to take a temporary step away from his normal rich lifestyle. I think this was very respectful of him because Hijiri didn't allow his spoiled self to get in the way of understanding life from a different perspective. He used this opportunity and chance to learn a different lifestyle so that he can better understand what other people feel that are very unlike him. In our reality, there are a lot of different people. There exists the very rich, the very poor, and the middle class. Not everyone understands things at the same level, and no one will ever fully know what each person from each class may feel. But to understand and know from the shoe of another person, I think that's something that needs to be known by all humans. Saki Takamine is a supporting character that is introduced as Anzu's best friend. She is also a popular girl at her school for her looks, and she is extremely smart. Although her looks make it look like she's a person who hasn't experienced any bad in life, it is later revealed that she unfortunately was near assaulted by an upperclassman who she really respected for almost being the ideal man. She was often very ignored and hated by a lot of the people in her community because of the amount of fame she got for her good looks. But all that changed when Anzu was introduced in her life. Anzu was different. Instead of hating and being jealous of Saki, Anzu decided to take Saki's side and to protect her when bad things got to her. This allowed Saki to slowly begin trusting people again. This is actually really important to point out because trust is a problem that we face in our world today. Trust comes at different paces and in different ways for all people, and it's important to understand that trust does not come fast. Obviously, there are good and bad people, but we can really never tell who is who by the looks and the words being said by them. However, trust comes with experience and how well maintained a relationship is. I think being able to resonate with the idea of trust helps introduce the concept of human relationships, which is extremely surprising, especially from an animated film. I think one of the most beautiful things that anime can do is to replicate something so dear and real and to incorporate that into a fictional film. That brings the audience the entertainment that we desire, whilst also providing us with realism that allows us to make connections with the events and the characters of the show. Romantic Killer maneuvers a good portion of comedy and with morals and themes to create a fictional yet realistic story. The storytelling of friendship, trauma, and even to the extent of human trust was beautifully executed, allowing room for character development and effective story progression. The idea of life and its lessons shared through the film well identifies with our society today and constructs a more solid reason as to why this film should be and will be loved by many. Like mentioned previously, resonation is another primary reason as to why this show is so well produced. When the audience is able to somehow resonate with the events or the experiences that the characters are going through, that builds a level of sympathy and understanding. That understanding creates an immaculate bond between the viewer and the character, which allows the audience to really truly understand what the character is going through, while simultaneously bonding with the aspect of character development. Romantic Killer incorporates just enough while also keeping distance with the very sensitive aspects of each theme shared. This subtle touch and sense of sympathy really pushes for the depths, making this anime film more and more associable with real life emotions. So to say Romantic Killer is deeper than you think. It's not just your normal cliche romance anime, but an anime that explores the depths of friendship, trauma, and trust in life. The beauty of storytelling happens when the audience is able to well resonate and connect with the storyteller, which I can assure you this film does a very good job of doing. If you're still watching this video and have yet to give a Romantic Killer a go, I think it's your time to do so now. Otherwise, check out my other videos where I explore different themes that anime have shared to me and the audience around. In the meantime, I was Juhnime, and I'll see you next time through another storytelling video.